The knife slipped from my hand and clattered against the scarred wooden floor of the attic, its blade catching the flicker of lightning like a guilty secret. Damien's voice cracked through the thunder. "Cruz, you weren't supposed to see this," as blood welled from the shallow cut on his palm, mixing with the rain seeping through the cracked skylight. In that frozen heartbeat, I realized the man I'd fallen for wasn't just distant. He was a ghost haunting his own life, and I'd just become the anchor dragging us both under. I never believed in second chances until the night I fled Austin for Chicago, trading my family's suffocating Bible Belt grip for a one-way ticket and a Craigslist ad that promised anonymity. But as I hauled my duffel bag up the creaky stairs of that crumbling brownstone in Wicker Park, the weight of what I'd left behind, my closeted shame, the whispers of faggot from my own kin, pressed harder than the Midwestern chill seeping through the walls. The ad had been simple: room in quiet house, no questions, $800 per month. Contact Damien. No photo, no frills, just enough to lure a runaway like me. The door swung open before I could knock, and there he was, Damien, framed in the dim hallway light like a noir poster come to life. Tall, broad-shouldered, with ink-black hair that fell just shy of his collar and eyes the color of Lake Michigan on a foggy dawn. Gray, impenetrable. He wore a faded Blackhawks hoodie and jeans that hugged his frame in a way that made my pulse stutter. Uninvited. "Cruz." His voice was low, gravelly, like he'd smoked one too many Marlboros chasing regrets. I nodded, throat dry, and he stepped aside without a smile. "Kitchen's down the hall. Beer in the fridge if you need it. Rent's due first of the month." That was our welcome. No handshake, no tour. Just the echo of my boots on the linoleum as I dumped my bag in the spare room. A narrow space with peeling wallpaper the color of faded dreams, and a single window overlooking a fire escape tangled in ivy. The house smelled of old books and takeout lo mein, with a faint undercurrent of something sharper. Cologne, maybe, or the metallic tang of secrets. I collapsed onto the lumpy mattress, staring at the water stain on the ceiling that looked like a question mark. 25 years old, freshly out, to myself at least, and running from a life where love meant hiding. What the hell was I doing here? Morning came gray and unrelenting, the kind of Chicago November that clings to your bones. I padded downstairs in search of coffee, only to find Damien at the kitchen table, hunched over a laptop, his fingers flying across the keys like he was defusing a bomb. He didn't look up. "There's grounds in the canister. Filters clean." I mumbled a thanks, fumbling with the ancient Mr. Coffee machine, hyper-aware of the space between us. 3 feet of scarred oak that felt like a chasm. Up close, he was even more arresting. A faint scar tracing his jawline, like a lover's parting gift, and stubble that shadowed his cheeks in a way that begged to be touched. Gaydar pinged hard. The way his gaze flicked over me wasn't brotherly. We fell into a rhythm that first week, fragile as fresh frost. I'd freelance graphic design from the living room couch, sketching logos for craft breweries while he vanished for hours, coming back with grease under his nails from some mechanic gig downtown, or empty-handed from errands that stretched into dusk. Dinner was communal by accident. Takeout pizza one night, where he slid me a slice loaded with pepperoni without asking if I wanted it vegetarian. I did, but the gesture warmed something in me. "You from Texas?" he'd asked, eyes on his plate. "Accent gives it away." I laughed, surprising myself. "Guilty." "You?" He paused, fork midway to his mouth. "Everywhere and nowhere. Army brat." That was all. But in the silences, when he'd lean back and stretch, his hoodie riding up to reveal a sliver of toned abdomen inked with a tribal tattoo snaking toward his hip, I'd catch myself staring, heat pooling low in my gut. He noticed once. Our eyes locked over the TV droning some Bears rerun, and he smirked, faint but real. "Eyes up here, cowboy." My face burned. Allure wrapped in ice. Distant, yes, but not indifferent. By the second week, the mystery gnawed at me like a winter wind. I'd hear him pacing the attic at 3 a.m., floorboards creaking like confessions withheld. One night, emboldened by a second IPA, I knocked on his door. Solid oak, locked from the inside. "Everything okay?" Silence, then the click of the latch. He stood there shirtless, sweatpants low on his hips, chest rising and falling like he'd run a marathon. The tattoo extended further than I'd imagined. A raven in mid-flight, wings spread across his pecs, talons clutching a broken chain. "Couldn't sleep," he said, voice rough. "Ghosts." I wanted to ask whose, but instead, "Want company?" His laugh was bitter, a sound that twisted my heart. "Company's what got me here." He shut the door soft, but not before I glimpsed the shadow of a duffel bag half-packed on his bed. That rejection lingered, sweet and stinging, fueling late-night scrolls through his sparse socials. No profile pic, posts dating back years but sparse. A sunset over the Pacific, a quote from Kerouac about roads not taken. No family tags, no lovers, just echoes. I threw myself into the city, pounding pavement from the L train to the Art Institute, sketching the bean under leaden skies, but always circling back to him. Romance bloomed in stolen moments. The way he'd leave my favorite Thai place's menu on the counter after overhearing me crave pad CEW, or how we'd argue over the thermostat. He liked it Arctic, I craved warmth, and end up laughing, shoulders brushing as we wrestled for the dial. Then came the first crack in his armor. Late October, a Friday night when the wind howled like it carried grudges from the lake. I was nursing a sketch pad in the living room when the front door slammed, rattling the windows. Damien stumbled in, coat askew, a bruise blooming purple under his eye like a storm cloud. Jesus, what happened? I was on my feet before I thought, hand hovering near his arm. He flinched but didn't pull away. Bar fight. Nothing. Bullshit. His knuckles were split, blood crusted like accusation. I guided him to the sink, running warm water over his hands while he leaned against the counter, head bowed. Our fingers brushed, electric, tentative, and he didn't recoil. "Who'd you piss off?" I murmured, dabbing antiseptic from the first aid kit. His breath hitched. "Old ghosts cruise, the kind that follow you across state lines." I met his gaze then, those gray eyes fracturing with something raw. Fear? Longing? "Tell me." He cupped my cheek instead, thumb tracing my jaw, calloused and gentle. "Not tonight." But he didn't let go, and when our lips met, soft, searching, tasting of whiskey and want, it wasn't distant. It was a dam breaking. We tumbled into it like fools chasing fireflies in a blackout. That kiss led to more. Lazy Sundays tangled on the couch under threadbare blankets, his head in my lap as I read aloud from my dog-eared copy of On the Road, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my thigh. He opened up in fragments. Born in San Diego to a drill sergeant dad and a mom who chased sunsets, bouncing bases until the divorce splintered them. "I got good at goodbyes," he'd say, voice muffled against my neck. "Bad at staying." But with me, he stayed. We walked the 606 trail at dawn, hands brushing until he laced our fingers, defiant against the jogger's stares. In bed, chaste, for now, all heated breaths and whispered promises. He'd murmur my name like a prayer. "Cruise your trouble." I'd grin into the dark. The good kind. Yet the allure sharpened into suspense, shadows lengthening. I'd wake to his phone buzzing on the nightstand. Unknown numbers, silenced but insistent. Once, rifling for Advil in his jacket pocket, hungover morning mercy, I found a crumpled receipt from a motel in Milwaukee, dated last month. "Errand?" I asked later, casual as fog. His jaw tightened. "Work." Liar's tick. A muscle feathering at his temple. The pacing resumed. Attic floor a nocturnal metronome. And the bruises? Another appeared on his ribs after a late shift. Ribs I kissed better under the guise of concern. Damien talked to me. He'd pull me close, burying his face in my hair. "I can't lose this. Not you." Romance laced with dread, like honey over thorns. Thanksgiving loomed, a hollow holiday for orphans like us. I cooked, burnt turkey and lumpy gravy, but his laugh boomed genuine as he carved, eyes soft over candlelight from thrift store stubs. "To new starts," he toasted with cheap Merlot, clinking my glass. Our knees touched under the table, a secret anchor. That night, as snow dusted the fire escape, he finally cracked the attic door. "Come up." The space was a time capsule. Dusty boxes labeled in faded Sharpie, Dad's medals, Mom's letters, a pull-out couch piled with sketch pads, his own art, ravens in flight, cities crumbling into waves. We sat cross-legged on the floor, passing a joint, his vice, not mine, and he spilled. The army, not as a kid's memory but his own enlistment at 18. Chasing escape from a small-town boyfriend who'd outed him to the whole damn county. They called it don't ask, but it was don't be. Dishonorable discharge after a superior's advances turned ugly. Lies, a fistfight, exile. I've been drifting since. Mechanic by day, ghost by night. I took his hand, tracing the scar on his palm from some forgotten brawl. You're not drifting now. He kissed me fierce, bodies aligning in the lamplight, hearts sinking to the storm outside. It was our pinnacle, vulnerability bared, love whispered against skin. But as his breathing evened into sleep, his phone lit up on the crate beside us. A text. We know where you are. End it or we will. I froze, screen's glow etching horror on his peaceful face. Who? What it? Betrayal's first whisper. He'd let me in, but not all the way. The attic became our sanctuary after that night. An area above the world's clamor where Damien's walls crumbled brick by brick. Mornings, I'd wake to the scent of his coffee. Black, no sugar. Brewing downstairs and find him sketching at the kitchen table. Raven motifs evolving into pairs now, wings intertwined. For us, he'd say, shy grin cracking his stoic facade, sliding the pad my way. I'd add flourishes. Texas stars bleeding into Chicago spires. Our art a bridge across silences. Romance deepened, not in grand gestures but the quiet poetry of shared space. His hand on my lower back guiding me through crowded dive bars on Division Street, where jukebox blues wailed our soundtrack. Stolen naps on the L, my head on his shoulder as the city blurred past, his thumb circling my knee like a vow. But suspense coiled tighter, a serpent in Eden. The text persisted, burner phone, I'd learn later, each one a barb. Tick-tock. Ramirez. Ramirez? His last name, yes, but spat like a curse. He'd delete them mid-vibration, jaw set like granite, but I'd catch the tremor in his hands when he thought I slept. Ix. I ventured one sleety afternoon, snowplows groaning outside like weary beasts. We were bundled on the couch, his arm heavy across my chest, Casablanca flickering black and white on the ancient TV. He stiffened. Worse. That's old crew from the service. Guys who didn't take no for discharge. Lies layered on half-truths. The army story held. But this? Pressed. Gentle. How bad? His sigh rattled deep. Bad enough to run. Again. I turned, cupping his face. Stubble rough under my palms. Not alone. Not this time. His kiss was desperate. A plea swallowed whole, and for a moment, the world narrowed to us. Two men forging light from fracture. Conflict brewed in the new year, January's bite mirroring the chill settling between us. Freelance dried up, clients ghosting amid economic whispers, and I took barista shifts at a hipster spot in Logan Square, steaming lattes for influencers while Damien pulled doubles at the garage, grease monkey calluses etching deeper. Money strained the seams. Rent checks bounced once, Damien covering with cash from an envelope marked emergency that smelled of mothballs and regret. Where's it from? I asked, folding laundry in the dim basement. The washers hum our confessor. Savings. Another tick. That night, paranoia peaked. I found the attic door ajar, a floorboard up revealing a lockbox. Inside, not cash but photos. Damien younger, uniformed, arms slung around a laughing soldier in fatigues. Faded Polaroids of beach bonfires, men tangled in innocent revelry, and clipped articles. Soldier cleared in assault case, but career over. The betrayal stung, not his past, but the vault he'd built around it. I confronted him at dawn. Photos splayed on the kitchen table like evidence in a trial. Cruz, it's not. His voice broke, eyes wild as he raked hands through his hair. It's poison. Touch it and it spreads. I shoved a clipping his way, headlines screaming fraternization scandal rocks base. This? Or the threats? I'm in this, Damien. Your ghosts are mine now. He sank into a chair, head in hands, shoulders shaking. Not sobs, but the dry heave of a man unmoored. They weren't just buddies. That guy, Riley, he was everything. First love, first fight. When the CO came sniffing, Riley flipped. Said I forced him to protect his own skin. Betrayal's echo. Not just military machismo, but the knife from a lover's hand. I punched back. Lost everything. I knelt before him, hands on his knees. You didn't lose me. But the seed of doubt sprouted. How deep did the lies run? Was I just another port in his storm? We patched it with therapy-grade talks. Walks along the frozen lakefront where wind whipped our scarves like flags of truce. He quit the garage, took night security at a warehouse. Better pay, fewer questions, and I landed a steady gig designing album art for indie bands. Our finances a fragile bloom. Romance reignited in spring's thaw. Picnics in Grant Park, his head in my lap as tulips unfurled. Slow dances in the living room to Coltrane records scratched from thrift bins. Bodies swaying to sax solos that wept what words couldn't. I love you, he whispered one April evening. Cherry blossoms dusting our jackets like confetti. My back against the beans curved steel. Scars and all. I teased, heart full. Especially. Laughter, light as ozone after rain. Yet the undercurrent pulled stronger. Suspense building to a crescendo. The texts evolved, voicemails now, Riley's voice digitized and venomous. You think a new boy toy erases what you did? We're coming. Damien changed the number thrice, installed deadbolts, but paranoia painted shadows in corners. I'd find him staring at maps on his phone. Escape routes to Seattle, Portland, fingers hovering over book now. Planning a solo trip? A joke, masking fear. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Just dreaming. The attic hoard grew. Burner phones stacked like ammo. A Glock 19 tucked under the couch. Unloaded, he swore, but its weight chilled the air. Humanistic threads wove in. Community potlucks with the neighbors. A queer book club where Damien read Audre Lorde aloud. Voice steadying on lines about survival. This is home, he'd say, squeezing my hand under the table. You're my anchor. Summer scorched in, humidity thick as unspoken dread. We celebrated our 6th month with rooftop beers. City lights sprawling like a lover's promise below. He proposed a road trip, on the road homage, to the Badlands. Just us, no ghosts. I said yes, visions of campfires and starlit confessions dancing. But en route, conflict erupted. A flat tire on I-90. Rain lashing the windshield like judgment. While he jacked the car, phone buzzed. Got your scent, Ramirez. South Dakota's a dead end. I snatched it, heart hammering. Who the fuck is this? He wrenched it away, face ashen. Riley's crew. Payback. The fight spilled. Me accusing secrecy, him roaring isolation. You think I want this? Dragging you into my mess. Tires squealed as we limped to a motel. Doors slamming echoes of fracture. In that neon-lit room, betrayal crested. Not his, but the lie we'd both swallowed. Love as salvation. Tell me everything, I demanded, rain drumming the roof. He did, unraveling the tapestry. Post-discharge drift into underground fights for cash. Debts to Riley's syndicate bookies with badges. Ex-military muscle extorting protection from queers like us. The gun? Borrowed insurance. The bruises? Collections. I came here to end it, pay off, vanish. Then you showed up, all fire and sketches, and I stayed. Tears tracked his cheeks, raw as the scar on his jaw. I pulled him close, our sobs sinking. We end it together. Romance's embers flared, kisses salt-slick, bodies clinging like lifelines. But dawn brought resolve. Call the cops, expose the ring. Humanistic hope. Justice, not vengeance. Back in Chicago, the plan crystallized over diner coffee gone cold. Cops, lawyers, a PI from the LGBTQ center downtown who specialized in vet exiles. Damien hesitated, fingers drumming the formica like Morse code for run. They own half the precinct, he muttered, eyes scanning the window for phantoms. I gripped his wrist. Not anymore. We're not ghosts, Damien. We're men. His nod was reluctant, but real. A tether snapped taut. We filed the report that week, Detective Vasquez, a no-nonsense Latina with a rainbow pin on her lapel, taking notes in a precinct buzzing with fluorescent hum. This Riley? We've been building a file. Testify and we bury him. Damien's hand found mine under the table, squeeze fierce. Suspense hummed. Tales on our walks, a slashed tire outside the brownstone. Nights, we'd barricade in the attic. His body curled around mine like a shield, whispers weaving dreams of post-trial freedom. A cabin in the up, sketches by a lake. Conflict simmered domestic now, fraying edges. My freelance boomed. Album covers for a rising queer folk act, gigs that paid in exposure and exhaustion. While Damien's warehouse shifts blurred into insomnia, eyes hollowed by what-ifs, arguments flared petty then profound. You're pulling away. I'd accuse, sketching ravens with broken wings. Protecting you, he'd retort, pacing circuits that wore the carpet threadbare. Romance persisted, a defiant flame. Surprise dates to the Green Mill, where jazz legends once smoked, his hand warm in mine amid the crowd. Love notes tucked in lunch bags, to my anchor. Don't let go. But betrayal's shadow loomed larger. Not from him but the system we'd trusted. Vasquez called. Leaks, Riley tipped off. Lay low. We're close. Summer waned sticky. August heat pressing like a vice. The climax brewed on Labor Day. City emptying for barbecues while we hunkered in. Blinds drawn against the glare. I'd stepped out for groceries. Banal errand, milk and eggs. When the alley swallowed me. Two goons in knockoff polos. Riley's echoes. Ramirez's pretty boy. Message time. Fists flew. Brass knuckles glancing my jaw. Boot to ribs cracking like thunder. I fought dirty. Knee to groin. Elbow to throat. Tasting copper as I broke free. Sprinting blocks with sirens in my wake. Home. Damien's face drained white at the bloodied lip. Swelling eye. Cruz, God no. He cleaned me methodically, hands shaking, then armed the Glock. Loaded now. They crossed the line. Rage boiled humanistic. Not revenge, but reckoning. That night, the storm broke, literal and figurative. Thunder rattled the skylight as Vasquez's team raided Riley's bolt hole in Pilsen, but the tip-off soured it. Empty warehouse, echoes mocking. Damien paced the attic, gun holstered at his hip like a fallen angel's wing. It's over. We run. I blocked the stairs, heart splintering. No. This is our fight. His eyes, those gray depths, fractured. I can't lose you too. The argument escalated, voices rising over the gale. Me pleading roots, him haunted by ghosts. You think love fixes this? Zachain Cruz. I'm the weight dragging you down. Betrayal reversed. I trusted his half-truths, but now? You promised together. A crash. Vase shattering against the wall, shards like our illusions. Lightning forked, illuminating the lockbox. Photos, now joined by Riley's latest taunt, slipped under the door while I shopped. A Polaroid of us at the Bean. Red X over my face. Your boy's next. Damien's snarl was primal. He lunged for the stairs, gun drawn. Stay here. Panic clawed me. I followed, rain lashing as we burst into the alley, shadows pooling under sodium lamps. Footsteps echoed. Riley's crew, 3 silhouettes materializing from the downpour, bats glinting wet. Ramirez. Time to pay. The brawl erupted chaotic. Damien firing warning shots into the air, cracks splitting the night like veins. I swung a trash can lid, shield and sword, connecting with a knee that buckled. Punches landed, fist to my temple stars bursting vision. But Damien fought feral, protecting my flank, roar guttural. Not him! Take me! Sirens wailed distant, then near. Vasquez's unmarked screeched in, badges flashing biblical. Chaos crested. Goons scattering, one tackled face down in puddles. Riley himself, lurking at the alley's mouth, cuffed and cursing as realization dawned. His empire fracturing under blue lights. Damien collapsed against the brick, gun clattering, breath ragged. I pulled him to me, rain mingling with blood and tears. It's over. I gasped. But his whisper chilled. Not yet. In the frenzy, as cops swarmed, I glimpsed it. Damien's free hand palming a burner from the lead goon's pocket, thumb hovering over send. Betrayal's apex. He'd played us? No, insurance, he mouthed later. Coordinates to Riley's offshore accounts. Leverage traded under the table for immunity. The aftermath swirled procedural. Statements in sterile rooms smelling of stale donuts. Lawyers circling like vultures with clipboards. Riley's ring crumbled. Extortion? Assaults. A web snaring vets and outcasts alike. Headlines blaring Chicago Vice ring busted. Queer community vindicated. Damien testified. Voice steady under fluorescent glare. Scars bared not just skin deep. Me? Witness? Lover? Survivor? Ribs taped, jaw wired shut for weeks, but whole. Romance tempered in fire. Hospital vigils where he'd read Kerouac aloud. Fingers laced through 4 lines. Recovery walks in Washington Park, his arm my cane. Laughter tentative but true. Fall deepened. Leaves carpeting the fire escape in crimson confessions. We rebuilt. Attic cleared of ghosts. Boxes donated to a vet's shelter. The Glock surrendered, replaced by a joint therapy tab. Humanistic threads wove tight. Volunteering at the center, Damien mentoring wide-eyed enlistees on coming out clean. Me sketching murals for pride, ravens now soaring free. Love matured, not flashy but rooted mornings tangled in sheets. His gray eyes soft in dawn light. Evenings debating Kerouac over lo mein, hands entwined like fate's own knot. One crisp November eve. A year to the day I knocked on his door. We climbed to the roof. City sprawled benevolent below, lake a silver promise. To anchors! He toasted with hot cider, steam curling like spirits appeased. I leaned into him, wind tousling our hair. To staying. No more distance, just us, flawed, fierce, found. In America's vast, unforgiving heart, we'd carved a corner that held. Yet peace proved fragile. Winter's grip a metaphor for the doubts that lingered like frost on window panes. December brought subpoenas, Riley's trial looming, appeals dragging specters back from the grave. Damien withdrew, not to the attic but inward, smiles brittle as thin ice. Just stress, he'd insist, burying himself in overtime at a new shop, engines roaring his therapy. I'd counter with date nights. Improv shows in Andersonville where laughter cracked his shell, or stargazing from the Adler's dome. His hand warm in mine amid constellations that whispered eternity. But betrayal's residue clung mine, in resenting his walls. His in fearing I'd bolt when the cracks showed. You're my everything? I'd affirm, tracing his tattoo in the dark. But we can't heal solo. Therapy helped. Sessions in a cozy Wicker Park office, where Dr. Ellis, a silver-haired dyke with a sailor's vocabulary, prodded our wounds gentle. Love's not a battlefield, she'd say. It's a garden. Tend it. Spring 2026 bloomed hesitant. Cherry trees along Milwaukee Avenue a pink defiance. Trial prep intensified. Mock cross-exams where Damien paced our living room. Voice steady but eyes haunted. I stood by, graphic pads filling with ravens, now guardians, wings shielding fledglings. Romance flickered resilient. A weekend in Door County, rented cabin by the bay where we kayaked at sunrise. Waves lapping secrets away. Bonfires where he confessed boyhood dreams. Artist, not soldier, and I vowed to make them real. Exhibit your sketches, I urged, submitting his portfolio to a queer art crawl in Boys Town. His first show. 10 pieces, sold 3. The Raven pair to a tearful couple who'd lost their son to conversion camps. For survivors, the note read. Damien's grin that night, over victory IPAs at Big Chicks, lit him from within. You see me, Cruz. Really see. Suspense crested anew in May. Not from Riley but fate's cruel jest. A letter arrived, certified, official from Austin. My brother, the golden child. Wedding invite enclosed with a scrawled come home. Dad's asking. The Bible belt's hook, yanking old shame to surface. Damien found me on the fire escape. Knees to chest. Letter crumpled like defeat. Family? His tone neutral but eyes sharp. I nodded. spilling the poison. Dad's sermon's thundering damnation, Mom's silent tears. The night I fled after a cousin's slur drew blood. They don't know me, the real me. He sat beside, arm around shoulders. Then show 'em, or don't. But don't let 'em ghost you. Conflict internal now, mine, wrestling forgiveness versus freedom. He listened through marathon talks, no judgment, just presence. A pot of chamomile at midnight, his body heat chasing chills. The wedding loomed June. Texas heat, a siren call to confrontation. Damien pushed. Go. I'll hold the fort. But betrayal's ghost stirred. His secrecy once, now my evasion. What if they break me? He cupped my face, thumbs brushing tears. Then I piece you back. We're unbreakable. Remember? I went. Flight jitters easing into resolve. Austin sprawled unchanged. Strip malls and steeples, air thick with barbecue and bigotry. The ceremony, white tents, cross necklaces glinting. Felt a stage play I'd outgrown. Dad cornered me post-vows, Bible in hand. Son, God's grace. I cut him. Dad, I'm gay, loved, and staying that way. Silence, then Mom's hug whispered proud. Not absolution, but a door cracked, humanistic mercy. Flawed as kin. Return brought catharsis. Airport reunion, Damien's sign, my Texan conquered, waving absurd. We drove home windows down, wind therapy, stopping at a roadside diner for pecan pie and promises. You did it, he marveled, fork midway. We did. Romance swelled summerful. Pride parade floats thumping bass, us in matching tees. Love winds scrawled in my ink, marching hand in hand, his kiss public, defiant. Art crawl evolved to gallery whispers. A Logan Square spot scouted him for a solo show. Me? Album designs led to a book cover gig, queer memoir. Fitting. Climax revisited in autumn. Riley's trial, a media circus. Ex-soldier exposes graft ring, blared the trib Damien on the stand. Unflinching under barrister fire, voice carrying the courtroom. They preyed on us, the broken, the out. No more. Verdict. Guilty, sentences stacking like dominoes. Outside, press swarmed. I shielded him, arm linked, flashing peace signs. But in the courthouse shadow, a final ghost. Riley, shackled, spitting traitor through the scrum. Damien froze, then turned away, not fleeing but forward. Let him rot. Betrayal alchemized to triumph. His past, not prison. Winter wrapped us gentle, 2027 dawning crisp. The brownstone sold, upgraded to a Logan Square walk-up with skylights for his studio. Garden plot for my herbs. Humanistic arc complete. Community ties deepened. Mentoring at the center, joint panels on resilience. His show opening to cheers, ravens soaring on canvas walls. Love, now legend. Anniversaries marked with Kerouac readings. Road trips looping the lakeshore. Bodies synced in quiet mornings. Gray eyes meeting brown with unwavering trust. One eve, snow falling soft outside our window, he pulled a ring from his pocket. Simple band, tungsten etched with intertwined wings. Merime, Cruz. Not despite the shadows, but because we outflew them. Tears blurred my yes, kiss sealing it amid flakes dancing like blessings. In America's mosaic, flawed, fierce, we'd etched our story. Not fairy tale, but real. Anchored at last.